The city skyline glittered like a spilled box of jewels as Officer Reyes drove toward her new assignment. Sunlight, just waking up, painted the tall buildings in shades of orange and pink. This was it, her first day as a police officer in one of the biggest, busiest cities in the country. Her heart thumped a little drum solo against her ribs, a mix of bubbling excitement and a tiny flutter of nerves. She gripped the steering wheel a little tighter, a small smile playing on her lips. She had dreamed of this moment for so long. Officer Reyes, whose first name was Elena, had spent years training, studying, and preparing. Before we continue, make sure to like and subscribe to never miss a new video. And tell me, where are you watching this video from? I love seeing all different people come together for these stories. She wasn't just any new recruit. She was sharp, quick-thinking, and incredibly dedicated. But even with all her training, stepping into a new world always brought a touch of the jitters. She knew the work would be tough, the hours long, and the challenges many. Still, a strong sense of purpose pushed away most of her worries. She wanted to help people, to make a difference, and she was ready to start. As she turned a corner, the grand old police station came into view. It was a sturdy brick building, looking like it had seen 100 years of stories. Cars buzzed past, people hurried on sidewalks, and the city hummed with life all around it. Elena took a deep breath, smoothing down the crisp fabric of her new uniform. The badge, polished to a mirror shine, sat proudly on her chest. Her cap was perfectly angled. She looked the part, and she felt ready. Parking her car, Elena grabbed her bag and walked toward the entrance. The heavy wooden doors seemed to welcome her, creaking open with a sound that spoke of history. Inside, the station was a hive of activity. Phones rang, radios crackled, and officers moved with a purposeful stride. The air smelled of coffee, old paper, and something distinctly metallic, like the city itself. Elena's eyes darted around, taking everything in. There were bulletin boards covered in notices, desks piled high with paperwork, and a steady stream of people coming and going. She spotted the front desk and walked over, her new boots making a soft, rhythmic sound on the polished floor. A friendly-looking officer with kind eyes greeted her. "Can I help you, officer?" he asked, a warm smile on his face. "Yes, I'm Officer Elena Reyes," she replied, her voice clear and steady, even though that little drum solo in her chest was still going strong. "It's my first day here. I'm reporting for duty." The officer nodded, his smile widening. "Welcome to Precinct 42, Officer Reyes. We've been expecting you. Sergeant Davies is waiting for you in his office. It's just down that hallway, the third door on your left." He pointed with a friendly gesture. Elena thanked him and started walking, her senses wide open. Every face she saw, every sound she heard, was a new part of this big adventure. She passed officers talking quietly, others typing quickly on computers, and a few sharing a laugh over something. It felt like a big family, a busy, important family, and she was now a part of it. The nerves were still there, a tiny buzz, but the excitement was much stronger. This was where she belonged. This was where her new life truly began. She imagined all the good she could do, all the ways she could help, and a genuine smile spread across her face. The big city might be tough, but so was she. Elena followed the directions to Sergeant Davies's office, her steps confident despite the buzzing energy of the station. As she walked down the hallway, a door opened to her right, and a tall, broad-shouldered officer stepped out. He had a stern face, with eyes that seemed to miss nothing, and a thick mustache that bristled above a thin smile. He wore his uniform with an air of authority, as if he owned every inch of the hallway. He stopped right in front of Elena, blocking her path. Well, what do we have here? He said, his voice deep and a little gruff. He looked her up and down, a smirk playing on his lips that didn't quite reach his eyes. It was the kind of look that made Elena feel like she was being sized up, not welcomed. A new face, eh? Another fresh-faced recruit ready to save the world? Elena stopped, standing tall. Officer Elena Reyes. Reporting for duty, sir. She stated clearly, extending her hand. She believed in showing respect, especially to senior officers, but she also carried herself with an inner strength. The officer ignored her outstretched hand, instead placing his own on his hip. His smirk widened. Reyes, huh? And a woman, too. Well, welcome to the big leagues, Reyes. I'm Officer Miller. Been here long enough to see 100 new faces come and go. Mostly go, if you catch my drift. He paused, letting his words hang in the air like a challenge. Elena kept her expression neutral. She had heard stories about officers like Miller, the ones who like to test new people, especially women. She wouldn't let him get under her skin. I plan on sticking around, sir, she replied, her voice steady. Miller let out a short, dry chuckle. That's what they all say. Look, Reyes, this isn't like some small town where you can just walk around writing parking tickets. This is serious business, and serious business requires fuel. He leaned in slightly, his eyes glinting with what he probably thought was humor. You know what I mean, right? A good cup of coffee really gets the day started. Strong, black, and hot. You think you can handle that, Officer Reyes? His words hung in the air, a clear jab, a not-so-subtle suggestion that her role might be more about serving drinks than serving justice. The smile on his face was tight, almost daring her to react. Elena felt a flicker of annoyance, a tiny spark of frustration. She had just arrived, full of hope and determination, and already someone was trying to put her in a box. It wasn't fair, and it certainly wasn't welcoming. She took a slow breath, reminding herself to stay calm. Getting angry wouldn't help. She simply met his gaze, her own eyes unwavering. I believe I can handle any task given to me, Officer Miller, she responded, keeping her voice even, though inside, a quiet fire had been lit. She didn't add "sir" this time. It was a subtle shift, a small way of showing she wouldn't be easily pushed around. Miller's smirk faltered for just a second, surprised by her cool response. He probably expected her to blush, stammer, or maybe even laugh nervously. Instead, she just stood there, calm and collected. He straightened up, losing a bit of his swagger. Right. Well, don't let me keep you then. Sergeant Davies is probably wondering where you are. He finally stepped aside, making a slight, mocking gesture with his hand. Elena nodded once, a brief acknowledgement, and walked past him, continuing down the hallway toward Sergeant Davies' office. She could feel his eyes on her back until she turned the corner. The cheerful hum of the station suddenly felt a little less welcoming, a little more challenging. But that spark of frustration quickly turned into a quiet resolve. She wasn't here to make coffee. She was here to be a cop, and she would prove it. Even after turning the corner and leaving Officer Miller behind, Elena felt a tiny prickle of sadness. It wasn't anger, not really. It was more like a small cloud passing over her sunny first-day excitement. She had come to this station ready to be part of a team, to learn and to contribute. To be met with such a dismissive joke right at the start felt like a cold splash of water. It was a reminder that not everyone would see her strength or her dedication right away. Some people, like Officer Miller, would see only what they expected to see. A small sigh escaped her lips, unheard in the busy hallway. She pushed the feeling down, deep inside, where it wouldn't get in the way. She had faced bigger challenges than a rude officer and his silly coffee joke. Much bigger. Her life had taught her to keep moving forward, to not let small bumps in the road stop her from reaching her goals. She smoothed her uniform again, a silent signal to herself to shake off the moment. Her hand found the doorknob of Sergeant Davies' office. She took a quick, calming breath, letting out the last wisp of annoyance, and then knocked firmly. A voice from inside called, "Come in!" Elena pushed the door open and stepped inside. Sergeant Davies was a kind-looking man, with a neatly trimmed beard and warm eyes. He stood up from behind his desk, offering a genuine smile. "Officer Reyes, welcome. Come on in. Have a seat." His welcoming manner was like a warm blanket after the brief chill of Officer Miller. Elena felt her spirits lift a little. She sat down in the chair opposite his desk. Sergeant Davies spent the next hour talking to her about her duties, the station rules, and the important things she needed to know. He gave her a tour of the main areas, introducing her to a few other officers who offered quick, friendly nods. No more jokes about coffee, just respectful greetings. As the day went on, Elena threw herself into her work. She learned how to fill out reports, how to use the radio system, and where everything was kept. She listened carefully, asked smart questions, and quickly understood new tasks. She observed the other officers, learning from their movements and their ways of talking. Every new piece of information was like a puzzle piece fitting into place, building the picture of her new life. She made sure to be helpful, offering to assist wherever she could. When a stack of files needed to be moved, she helped carry them. When a computer system needed a fresh pair of eyes, she offered hers. She didn't seek attention, but she worked hard, quietly, and efficiently. She wanted her actions to speak louder than any joke Officer Miller might make. She wanted her work to show everyone who she truly was. By lunchtime, the sadness from earlier had completely faded, replaced by a quiet satisfaction. She was doing it. She was being a cop. The station, with its bustling sounds and busy people, was starting to feel less like a new place and more like home. The challenges were real, but so was her determination. Officer Miller's words were a distant echo, easily ignored. Elena was focused on the present, on the important job ahead, and on proving to herself and anyone else who doubted her that she was exactly where she was meant to be. Her badge felt heavier now, not with the weight of expectation, but with the pride of purpose. The afternoon brought a new event for Elena and the other new recruits. Sergeant Davies had told them about a special welcome meeting. All new officers gather in the main assembly hall at 3 o'clock, he had announced. The chief of police himself will be there to greet you, along with other important folks. Elena felt a fresh wave of anticipation. This was a chance to formally meet the leaders of the department and feel truly welcomed. She smoothed her uniform one last time and made her way to the assembly hall, a large room usually used for big announcements and training sessions. When she arrived, the hall was already filling up. Rows of chairs faced a raised platform at the front. Many officers, both new and experienced, were chatting softly, their voices making a low buzz in the room. Elena found an empty seat near the back, wanting to observe quietly. She noticed Officer Miller standing near the front, talking loudly to a group of his friends, his chest puffed out. He didn't seem to notice her, which suited Elena just fine. Soon, the buzz in the room died down, as several important-looking people walked onto the platform. At the very center was a distinguished woman with silver hair pulled back in a neat bun, wearing a perfectly pressed uniform with many shining stars and medals pinned to it. This was Chief Anderson, the Chief of Police. Beside her sat other high-ranking officials, the Deputy Chief, the Head of Detectives, and a few City Council members. Their presence made the air feel important and official. Chief Anderson approached the podium, a warm but serious expression on her face. She tapped the microphone gently, and a soft feedback squealed before she began to speak. "Good afternoon, everyone," she started, her voice strong and clear, filling the large hall. "We are gathered here today to officially welcome our newest class of officers to this department. You represent the future of our city's safety, and we are incredibly proud to have you join our ranks." She spoke about the challenges of police work, the importance of teamwork, and the duty they all shared to protect the community. Elena listened intently, feeling a surge of pride. This was what she had signed up for. This was the noble purpose she wanted to serve. The chief's words made her remember why she had worked so hard, why she had pushed through every difficult moment. After her welcoming speech, Chief Anderson introduced the other leaders on the platform, each offering a few words of encouragement to the new recruits. Then, she turned to a stack of papers on the podium. "Now," she announced, "it is my great honor to formally introduce each of our new officers. As I call your name, please come forward to shake my hand and receive your official welcome packet." A few new officers had already been called up, shaking hands, smiling shyly, and returning to their seats with their new folders. Elena watched, knowing her turn would come soon. She felt a familiar mix of excitement and a tiny bit of nerves, but mostly she felt ready. This was the public welcome, the official stamp on her new career. She straightened her posture, ready for her name to be called, ready to step forward and officially begin her journey as a protector of the city. The spotlight would be on her for just a moment, a bright, welcoming light, and she was prepared to stand in it. The Chief of Police continued to call out names, and each new officer walked up to the podium, shook hands, and received their welcome packet. Elena watched, feeling her turn drawing closer. She straightened her back, ready to walk forward with confidence. She was Officer Elena Reyes, and she was proud to be there. Suddenly, Chief Anderson paused. She looked down at her notes, then up at the audience, a different kind of smile on her face now, one of deep respect and admiration. "Before we continue with the general introductions," she said, her voice gaining a special tone, "I have the distinct honor of introducing one of our new recruits in a rather unique way. Her journey to becoming a police officer is truly inspiring, and I believe it sets a remarkable example for us all." A ripple of quiet curiosity went through the hall. Officers shifted in their seats, wondering who the chief was talking about. Elena felt a tiny knot of surprise. She hadn't expected anything special. She was just a new officer, like the others. Chief Anderson continued, "Many of you know that our department values strength, courage, and a deep commitment to service. These are qualities that our next officer has shown not just in her aspirations to join us, but throughout her entire adult life, in a very different uniform." Elena's heart gave a little jump. Different uniform? Could it be? She had tried to keep her past quiet, wanting to start fresh and be judged on her current abilities. But a part of her also felt a deep, quiet pride in what she had done. The chief's gaze swept across the room, then landed on Elena's section. "Officer Elena Reyes," Chief Anderson announced, her voice ringing out. comes to us with an incredible record of service to our country. Before joining the police academy, Officer Reyes served with exceptional distinction in the United States Army. A surprised murmur spread through the hall. Some officers leaned forward, their faces showing sudden interest. Officer Miller, who had been talking loudly just moments before, stopped mid-sentence. He looked toward Elena's direction, a confused frown replacing his usual smirk. During her time in the military, Chief Anderson went on, Officer Reyes proved herself to be a leader, a protector, and a hero. She served multiple tours overseas, often in very dangerous situations. Her bravery and commitment to her fellow soldiers were simply outstanding. Elena felt her cheeks warm. She didn't like being the center of attention, especially for her past. She had simply done her duty. But the chief's words were kind, filled with genuine admiration, and she couldn't help but feel a little touched. She kept her eyes fixed on the chief, trying not to look at the other officers who were now clearly staring at her. She displayed a level of courage that few of us will ever experience. The chief said, her voice growing even more serious. She faced extreme danger head-on, always putting the safety of others before her own. It's because of this extraordinary bravery, this selfless act of heroism, that Officer Reyes was awarded one of the highest military honors. The hall was completely silent now, everyone hanging on Chief Anderson's every word. Officer Miller stood frozen, his mouth slightly open, a look of utter disbelief on his face. He had seen Elena as just a new, young woman, someone to tease. He had no idea of the depths of her past. And now, the chief was about to reveal something truly remarkable. The air in the room crackled with unspoken wonder. The silence in the assembly hall was so deep, you could almost hear a pin drop. All eyes were on Chief Anderson, waiting for her next words. Elena felt a mix of embarrassment and a familiar sense of duty. She had never sought praise for her past, but she also knew the chief was honoring her service. Chief Anderson's voice then boomed with immense pride. For her extraordinary heroism and bravery in combat, Officer Reyes was awarded the Silver Star Medal. The words hit the room like a sudden clap of thunder. The Silver Star. It was one of the highest medals a soldier could receive, given only for extreme bravery in the face of the enemy. A gasp went through the crowd. Murmurs, louder this time, began to ripple through the rows of officers. Many looked at Elena with wide eyes, their expressions shifting from curiosity to open awe. Officer Miller, who had been standing frozen, looked like someone had just poured a bucket of cold water over his head. His mouth, which had been slightly open, now hung fully agape. His eyes, fixed on Elena, were filled with utter shock and something that looked a lot like shame. The idea of the quiet new recruit, the one he had joked about making coffee, being a Silver Star recipient, was clearly beyond anything he could have imagined. Chief Anderson didn't stop there. She wanted everyone to understand the true meaning behind the medal. Let me tell you a little about the actions that earned Officer Reyes this incredible honor. She continued, her voice filled with emotion. During a dangerous mission overseas, her unit came under heavy enemy fire. Many of her comrades were hurt, and their position was in grave danger. Elena remembered that day all too well. The dust, the shouts, the feeling of her heart pounding like a drum. It was a day she would never forget, a day where every second felt like an hour. Without a moment's hesitation, the chief explained. Then Sergeant Reyes, despite being injured herself, moved through intense enemy gunfire to reach her wounded squad leader. She provided life-saving first aid while under constant threat. And then, With incredible strength, she carried her injured leader to safety. The room was absolutely silent again, hanging on every word. The story painted a vivid picture of courage that most of them could only imagine. Elena kept her gaze fixed straight ahead, trying to appear calm, even as memories of that day flickered through her mind. She wasn't seeking praise. She was just doing what any good soldier would do for their comrades. But she didn't stop there, Chief Anderson added, her voice rising with admiration. After ensuring her leader was safe, Sergeant Reyes returned to the battlefield, risking her life again to help evacuate other wounded soldiers and retrieve critical equipment. Her actions that day saved lives and allowed her unit to regroup and complete their mission. She embodied the true spirit of a hero. A wave of profound respect washed over the assembly hall. Heads turned towards Elena, not with curiosity anymore, but with deep admiration. The new officers looked inspired, the experienced ones looked humbled. The air was thick with the weight of her incredible story. The quiet new cop who had just started her first day was suddenly revealed to be a person of immense courage and sacrifice. The Silver Star wasn't just a medal. It was a symbol of a warrior's heart, beating strong in the chest of Officer Elena Reyes. The detailed account of Officer Reyes's bravery hung in the air, thick with reverence. Every eye in the assembly hall seemed to be fixed on Elena, who remained seated, trying to appear as inconspicuous as possible despite the chief's powerful words. The story of her courage was a bright light, shining on her quiet demeanor, and it made her feel a little exposed. But no one in the room was more affected than Officer Miller. He had been standing near the front, looking important and chatting loudly with his friends, only moments before. Now, he was a statue. His jaw was slack, his eyes wide and unblinking, fixed on Elena like she was a ghost. The smirk he usually wore was completely gone, replaced by an expression of pure, dumbfounded shock. As Chief Anderson spoke of Elena's selfless acts, moving through enemy fire, providing aid, carrying a wounded comrade to safety, and then returning for more, Miller's face slowly began to change. First came the shock. Then a slow, creeping flush of red started at his neck and spread up to his cheeks. His ears, too, turned a bright scarlet. It was embarrassment, hot and undeniable. He remembered his words from earlier that day. "You think you can handle that, Officer Reyes?" he had asked, a mocking glint in his eye, talking about making coffee. The memory of his own dismissive joke, played against the backdrop of Chief Anderson's powerful description of Elena's heroism, was like a punch to the gut. He had seen a new young woman and made an unfair judgment, reducing her to a stereotype. Now, the truth was laid bare for everyone to hear. This woman, this new recruit, had faced death with courage that most people could only dream of. Miller tried to shift his weight, to look away. But his eyes seemed stuck on Elena. He could feel the eyes of other officers on him too, perhaps remembering his earlier interaction with the new recruit. The loud, confident officer who liked to be in charge suddenly felt very small and very foolish. His chest, which he had puffed out with pride, now felt hollow. A knot tightened in his stomach. How could he have been so wrong? How could he have been so quick to judge? The thought of his sneering joke about coffee now sounded incredibly silly, even cruel, compared to the life-or-death situations Elena had faced and conquered. He had seen her as someone to put in her place, someone to make an example of. Instead, she was an example of something far greater than he had ever shown. He swallowed hard, his throat suddenly dry. The room was still buzzing with quiet amazement at Elena's story. But for Miller, the sound was muffled, distant. All he could hear was the echo of his own thoughtless words and the crushing weight of his misjudgment. He wished he could disappear, wished he could rewind the clock to that morning and simply offer a polite welcome. But it was too late. His words were out there, and now so was Elena's incredible truth. The pride he usually carried had completely drained away, replaced by a deep, burning sense of humiliation. He just wanted the floor to open up and swallow him whole. After Chief Anderson finished recounting the incredible story of Officer Reyes's bravery, a wave of applause, soft at first, began to spread through the assembly hall. It grew quickly, becoming a thunderous roar of hands clapping together. Officers stood up, some whistling, others shouting words of respect. The sound was deafening, a powerful tribute to a true hero. Elena, who had tried to shrink into her seat, felt her cheeks burn. She wasn't used to such public praise. She had always seen her actions as simply doing her duty, as what any good soldier would do for their friends. But the chief's words and the crowd's reaction showed her that others saw it as something far more. Chief Anderson, her face glowing with pride, held up a hand to quiet the room. When the applause finally settled, she looked directly at Elena. "Officer Reyes," she announced, her voice clear and strong, "please stand and be recognized." Elena took a deep breath. She knew this moment was coming. She slowly rose from her seat, feeling all eyes in the room turned to her. She stood tall, her uniform crisp and new, her posture straight and strong, just as she had been taught in the army. She didn't seek attention, but she would not shy away from it either, especially when her chief asked her to stand. As she stood, a small silver medal, pinned neatly to her uniform jacket, caught the light. It was the Silver Star, its 5 points shining brightly against the dark blue fabric. The medal was simple yet powerful, a symbol of extreme courage. Elena had worn it today, not to show off, but because she felt it was important to honor her past, even as she started her new future. She knew it represented not just her own bravery, but the sacrifices of all the soldiers she had served with. A fresh wave of applause erupted, even louder than before, as everyone clearly saw the shining medal. Many officers who had been sitting quickly stood up, offering a standing ovation. Their faces were filled with admiration and respect. Some nodded, some gave thumbs up, all showing their deep appreciation for her service and sacrifice. Officer Miller, still standing near the front, watched Elena. The color had drained from his face, leaving him pale. His earlier embarrassment now mixed with a profound sense of awe and a sharp pang of regret. He saw the shining medal, a small but mighty emblem of a valor he could scarcely imagine. The woman he had dismissed with a joke about coffee was standing before him, a decorated war hero. The contrast was stark, almost painful. He felt a deep, uncomfortable twist in his stomach. Elena met the gazes of the officers around her, offering a small, grateful nod. She didn't smile broadly, but a quiet sense of pride settled over her. She was proud of her service, proud of her medal, and proud to be joining this new team. The silver star on her chest wasn't just metal. It was a story, a promise, and a silent answer to any doubt. She was here, she was ready, and she was more than capable. The assembly hall continued to ring with applause as Elena stood, her silver star glinting under the lights. It felt like an endless wave of sound, a powerful expression of respect that swelled and filled every corner of the room. Chief Anderson beamed from the podium, clearly proud of her new recruit. As the applause finally began to settle, Chief Anderson invited Elena to the front. "Officer Reyes, please join me up here." Elena walked forward, her steps firm and even. She moved with a quiet dignity, not rushing, not showing off, but simply answering the call. As she reached the platform, Chief Anderson shook her hand warmly, her grip strong and genuine. "Welcome to the force, Officer Reyes," the chief said, her voice softer now, meant only for Elena. "We are honored to have you." Then, something truly special happened. As Elena stood beside the chief, other officers, both new and seasoned, started to approach the platform. They weren't just the new recruits waiting for their turn. These were veteran officers, some with graying hair and tired eyes, who had seen much in their careers. One by one, they came up to Elena. A tall, older detective was the first. He had a serious face, but his eyes were kind as he reached out his hand. "Officer Reyes," he said, his voice deep with respect. "Detective Ramirez, it's an honor to serve with you." Elena shook his hand, feeling the strength of his grip. Then came a young patrol officer, barely older than Elena herself, his face alight with admiration. "That was an incredible story, Officer Reyes," he said, shaking her hand firmly. "Thank you for your service." More and more officers came forward, forming a small line. They shook her hand, some offering a brief, heartfelt welcome, others simply nodding their heads in silent respect. Each handshake was a warm connection, a bridge built between her past and her new future. Elena felt a deep sense of belonging, a feeling she hadn't expected so quickly. This wasn't just a welcome to a new job. It was a welcome into a family of protectors. Officer Miller, however, did not move. He remained rooted to his spot, a little further back now, his face still pale. He watched the procession of officers shaking Elena's hand, his expression a mix of awe and deep discomfort. He saw the genuine respect in their eyes, the sincere appreciation in their handshakes. He knew, without a doubt, that he had made a terrible mistake that morning. His joke, which had seemed so clever and powerful at the time, now felt like a childish whisper against the roar of Elena's true heroism. He couldn't bring himself to join the line. The shame was too great. Elena, however, didn't seem to notice his absence. She was focused on the moment, on the warm smiles and firm handshakes. Each officer who came forward saw her not just as a new recruit, but as a brave individual who had already proven her immense courage. The silver star on her chest seemed to shine even brighter with every new hand she shook, a beacon of her remarkable journey. She was no longer just the new cop. She was Officer Elena Reyes, a hero among them, and the station was now truly her home. After the last handshake, Elena stepped down from the platform, feeling a warmth spread through her. The meeting was slowly breaking up, with officers heading back to their duties or lingering to chat. Elena started to make her way toward the exit, a quiet sense of accomplishment settling over her. As she walked, a shadow fell over her. She looked up to see Officer Miller standing in front of her, his usual confident posture replaced by a slumped, almost hesitant stance. His face was still a bit red, and he wouldn't quite meet her eyes. The tough, joking officer from that morning seemed to have vanished, replaced by someone looking very uncomfortable. Elena stopped, her expression calm and neutral. She waited, not knowing what he would say. She had almost forgotten about their earlier encounter. So much had happened since then. Miller shifted his weight from one foot to the other, clearing his throat. He looked at the floor, then at the wall, then finally, for a quick second, at her silver star medal. He took a deep breath, like he was about to jump into cold water. "Officer Reyes," he began, his voice much softer than before, almost a mumble. He still wouldn't look her directly in the eye. I just wanted to say something. Elena remained silent, giving him space to speak. He swallowed hard. This morning, he continued, his words coming out a little faster now. When we met in the hallway, I said some things about coffee and I was out of line. It was a dumb joke, a stupid thing to say. He paused, rubbing the back of his neck. I had no idea. No idea who you were, what you've done. His eyes finally flickered up to hers, full of a raw honesty that was surprising. I was wrong, Officer Reyes. Completely wrong, and I'm sorry. I truly am. The apology was clearly difficult for him to say, and it felt genuine. Elena could see the shame and regret etched on his face. The tough facade he had worn earlier was completely gone. In its place was a man who had realized a big mistake and was brave enough to admit it. Elena looked at him, not with anger, but with understanding. She knew what it took to admit you were wrong, especially when you were someone who liked to be in charge. She also knew that everyone made mistakes. The important thing was learning from them. A small, kind smile touched her lips. Thank you, Officer Miller, she said, her voice gentle. I appreciate that. She didn't need to rub it in or make him feel worse. His apology was enough. His changed demeanor spoke volumes. Miller looked up fully now, a flicker of relief in his eyes. He still looked embarrassed, but a heavy weight seemed to have lifted from his shoulders. I really am sorry, he repeated, wanting to make sure she understood. You're a hero, Officer Reyes. A true hero. And I was disrespectful. Elena simply nodded. The air between them, which had been thick with tension and his earlier arrogance, now felt clearer, lighter. It was a small but important moment, a bridge being built where a wall had stood just hours before. She had come to the station to do her job, and part of that job was about building good relationships, even with those who initially misunderstood her. And by accepting his apology, she was doing just that. Officer Miller stood before Elena, his face still flushed, waiting for her full response. He had said his apologies, but he knew words alone might not be enough. He had truly disrespected her, and the weight of that error pressed heavily on him. He expected a sharp retort or perhaps a cold dismissal. He deserved it. But Elena didn't give him either of those things. Instead, her kind smile widened just a little. It wasn't a smile of triumph or superiority, but one of understanding and forgiveness. Her eyes, which had seen so much, held no anger or bitterness towards him. It's okay, Officer Miller, she said, her voice soft but clear. Her words were like a gentle breeze, calming the storm of shame in his heart. We all make mistakes. The important thing is that we learn from them. Her words were simple, yet they carried immense power. They showed a strength that wasn't about shouting or being tough, but about being truly kind and wise. She wasn't just saying, it's okay. She was offering a path to move forward. She wasn't holding a grudge, even though she had every right to. This was the strength of a true leader, a person who could forgive and inspire, even in a difficult moment. Officer Miller stared at her, genuinely surprised. He had expected a lecture, a cold shoulder, anything but this calm, graceful acceptance. His shoulders, which had been hunched, slowly relaxed. A small sigh of relief escaped him, a sound he hadn't known he was holding in. Thank you, Officer Reyes, he managed to say, his voice still a little shaky. He looked at her silver star again, then back at her face, this time meeting her eyes fully. There was a new light in his gaze, a mix of respect and a touch of humility he hadn't shown before. You're a remarkable person. Elena just nodded, her smile unwavering. She knew that true strength wasn't just about fighting battles, but also about building bridges. Her time in the army had taught her the importance of a team, and that meant treating everyone with respect, even when they didn't always do the same. By being kind, she was not only showing her own strong character, but also setting an example for how they could all work together. The brief moment between them felt important. It wasn't just an apology and an acceptance. It was a shift. Officer Miller, who had walked into the station that morning full of pride and a readiness to judge, now stood before her with genuine respect. He had learned a valuable lesson, not from a lecture, but from the quiet power of Elena's actions and her unwavering character. As they parted ways, Elena continued her walk, the feeling of warmth returning. The incident with Officer Miller was now truly behind her. She had handled it with grace and strength, just as she hoped to handle every challenge in her new role. Her first day had been full of ups and downs, but she had come out of it feeling stronger and more determined than ever. She knew that being a good police officer meant not just enforcing laws, but also showing compassion and building understanding, one interaction at a time. And she had just done exactly that. The apology and Elena's kind acceptance marked a clear turning point. From that day forward, the atmosphere around Officer Reyes at the station changed completely. The quiet new recruit was no longer just a new face. She was Officer Reyes, the Silver Star recipient, a hero in their midst. Officer Miller, especially, underwent a noticeable change. The next morning, when he saw Elena in the hallway, he didn't just nod politely. He offered a genuine, if still a little shy, "Good morning, Officer Reyes." His eyes held a new light of respect, and his usual swagger was replaced by a more humble demeanor. He even went out of his way to offer her helpful advice on filling out a tricky report, something he would never have done before. He treated her not just as an equal, but with a deference usually reserved for more senior, respected colleagues. It wasn't just Officer Miller. The story of her Silver Star had spread like wildfire through the precinct. Officers who hadn't been at the meeting heard the tale and looked at Elena with fresh eyes. The veteran officers, who had initially given her polite but reserved greetings, now sought her out. They would stop her in the hallways to ask about her military experience, not out of idle curiosity, but out of genuine admiration. They asked for her thoughts on difficult situations, valuing her unique perspective that came from facing extreme pressure. Younger officers, especially the new recruits, looked up to her as an instant role model. They saw her quiet strength, her dedication, and her humble way of carrying her past achievements. She became an example of true courage and professionalism. They would watch her, eager to learn from her steady movements and calm decisions. Elena, for her part, remained the same. She continued to work hard, learning every aspect of her new job with diligence and focus. She never brought up her medal or her military past unless asked. And even then, she spoke about it with modesty, always giving credit to her fellow soldiers. She treated everyone with the same kindness and respect she expected, whether they were a chief of police or a new janitor. This genuine humility, combined with her proven bravery, only deepened the respect others had for her. She didn't demand respect. She earned it through her character. Officers would hold doors for her, listen more carefully when she spoke, and always address her with a noticeable tone of regard. The casual jokes or dismissive comments that some new officers might face simply vanished when it came to Officer Reyes. One afternoon, Elena was struggling to move a heavy box of old files. Before she could ask for help, Officer Miller was there, taking the box from her with a strong, easy lift. "Here, Officer Reyes," he said, a small, polite smile on his face. "Let me get that for you." It was a small gesture, but it spoke volumes about the change in his attitude. The station, which had felt a little daunting on her first morning, now truly felt like a place where she belonged. The respect she received wasn't just for her past, but for the person she was, a kind, strong, and dedicated officer ready to serve. Her silver star had opened doors, but her character kept them open. The quiet respect that now surrounded Officer Reyes quickly grew into something more profound. She became a true hero at the station, not just because of her shining silver star, but because of the way she carried herself every single day. Her actions showed everyone that real strength wasn't just about big muscles or a loud voice. It came from deep inside, from a brave heart and a kind spirit. Her first week was a whirlwind of training, patrols, and learning the city's streets. She faced challenging situations with the same calm and clear thinking that had earned her the medal. When a worried mother reported a lost child, Elena listened with deep care, offering comfort while quickly taking down all the important details. When a tricky traffic stop turned tense, she spoke calmly, keeping the situation safe without needing to raise her voice. Other officers watched her, and they learned. They saw that her calm demeanor wasn't weakness, but a powerful kind of control. Her kindness wasn't soft. It was a way to build trust. She showed them that being strong meant being thoughtful, brave, and good, all at the same time. Officer Miller, in particular, became one of her biggest admirers. He would often seek her out for advice, something unthinkable just days before. "Officer Reyes," he might say, lowering his voice, "how would you handle this situation? I remember you saying something about staying calm under fire, and He would trail off, a hint of awe in his eyes. Elena would always listen patiently and offer her honest thoughts, never making him feel small for asking. Her quiet leadership began to influence the entire precinct. New officers felt more at ease, knowing they had a hero in their ranks who was also approachable and kind. Older officers found a renewed sense of pride, seeing Elena as a living example of the best qualities a police officer could have. She didn't preach or tell people what to do. She simply was the example. One day, during a busy shift, a complicated call came in. It involved a dangerous situation that required careful planning. The senior officers were brainstorming, and after a moment of silence, Sergeant Davies looked directly at Elena. "Officer Reyes," he asked, "given your unique experience, what's your assessment? How do you see us approaching this?" Elena offered her insights, speaking clearly and confidently, drawing on her past training and natural ability to stay focused under pressure. Her suggestions were practical and well thought out, and the other officers listened closely, nodding in agreement. Her ideas helped the team decide on the best and safest plan. That day, and many days after, it became clear that Elena's heroism wasn't just a story from the past. It was a part of who she was, a guiding light that made her an exceptional officer in the present. She taught everyone that courage wasn't just about facing bullets, but also about facing everyday challenges with honesty, integrity, and a steadfast heart. She showed them that a quiet spirit could hold the greatest strength, and that true heroes don't need to brag. Their actions speak for themselves. The station had a hero, and her name was Officer Elena Reyes. Through her quiet strength and undeniable courage, Officer Reyes became more than just a respected colleague or a station hero. She became a living lesson for everyone at Precinct 42. She proved, without a doubt, that you should never, ever judge someone by how they look, by their gender, by their size, or by whether they are new to a job. True worth lies much deeper than what meets the eye. Her first encounter with Officer Miller was a perfect example. He had seen a new, young woman, and his mind had jumped to old, unfair ideas. He had seen a fresh-faced recruit and thought she might be soft or easily bossed around, fit for making coffee instead of policing the streets. But Elena had shown him, and everyone else, how wrong such quick judgments could be. Her story became a gentle reminder that every person carries their own unique history, their own hidden strengths. The quiet officer, the one who might seem unassuming, could actually be a decorated war hero. The new person who seems a little shy could be a powerhouse of talent and experience. The change in Officer Miller was perhaps the most striking proof of this lesson. He, who had been so quick to dismiss her, now treated her with the highest regard. He no longer saw just a woman cop. He saw Officer Reyes, a brave and capable leader. His initial prejudice had crumbled under the weight of her genuine character and impressive past. He learned that looking beyond the surface was not just polite, but essential for truly understanding people. This lesson wasn't just for Miller. It rippled through the entire department. Officers became more thoughtful about how they welcomed new colleagues, how they spoke to each other, and how they approached people in the community. They realized that assumptions could lead to big mistakes, and that true leadership meant seeing the full potential in everyone. Chief Anderson herself often referred to Officer Reyes's story in later meetings, not to embarrass anyone, but to inspire. Remember Officer Reyes's first day, she might say. Remember the incredible courage she brought with her, hidden beneath a quiet demeanor. It teaches us all a valuable lesson. Never underestimate anyone. Always look for the strength within. Elena continued to embody this lesson every day. She never lorded her mettle over anyone, nor did she ever remind Miller of his initial rudeness. Her kindness and unwavering focus on her job showed that she believed in giving everyone a fair chance, just as she had earned her own. She proved that respect is earned through action and character, not through loud words or assumptions. The precinct, once a place where old habits sometimes lingered, began to feel more open and fair. Officer Reyes's presence was a constant, gentle reminder that judging a book by its cover meant missing out on the most amazing stories inside. Her quiet arrival had shaken up old ways of thinking, paving the way for a more respectful and understanding environment for everyone who walked through those doors. She had, simply by being herself, taught them all a lesson that would last a lifetime. Elena Reyes's first day at Precinct 42 was a day no one would soon forget, especially not Officer Miller. But it was only the beginning of a long and truly great career. She didn't just fade into the background after the excitement of her introduction. Instead, she continued to shine, not with a flashy light, but with a steady, strong glow. As the years passed, Officer Reyes became one of the most respected and admired officers in the city. Her reputation for courage and kindness grew with every shift she worked. Whether it was talking down a frightened person, bravely facing danger, or simply helping an elderly citizen cross the street, she always approached her duties with the same thoughtful dedication. She rose through the ranks, not because of special favors, but because she earned every promotion with hard work and smart decisions. She became a sergeant, then a lieutenant, always leading by example. Her team knew they could count on her to be fair, to be brave, and to always have their backs. She was tough when she needed to be, but her strength was always balanced with a deep sense of understanding and care for others. Officer Miller, who had once tried to make her feel small, became one of her most loyal supporters. He watched her grow and lead, always with that quiet dignity she had shown on her first day. He learned so much from her, not just about police work, but about being a better person. He often told new recruits the story of Officer Reyes's first day, always starting with his own embarrassing mistake, to teach them the important lesson about not judging others. Elena's kindness extended beyond the station walls. She started community programs to help young people stay out of trouble and built strong connections between the police and the neighborhoods she served. People in the city knew her name, and they trusted her. When Officer Reyes was on a case, they knew it would be handled with both firmness and compassion. Her Silver Star medal remained a part of her uniform, a silent symbol of her past bravery. But it was her daily actions that truly defined her. She showed everyone that true heroes are not just found on battlefields, but also in the everyday choices to be good, to be fair, and to stand up for what is right. Many years later, when Chief Anderson retired, there was no question who would take her place. Officer Elena Reyes, the quiet recruit who had been asked to make coffee on her first day, became chief of police. She led the department with the same courage and kindness that had guided her from the start. Her story became a legend, a powerful reminder that the greatest strength often comes in the most unexpected packages, and that a single act of courage, followed by a lifetime of integrity, can change a whole city for the better. Elena Reyes continued to serve her city, a shining example of what it truly means to be a hero, inside and out.